Welcome back. The material we're looking at today is a really structured and detailed examination of AI's impact on the U.S. job market.
It really is. It highlights key sectors and these emerging phenomena like jobless growth and silent layoffs.
The foundation is absolutely rock solid, but we see three big opportunities to turn this from, an excellent analysis into something that's required reading.
Let's jump right in.
Okay, first up, this core economic idea you identified, jobless growth.
Yeah,
You make a really compelling case that companies, especially in big tech, banking, retail, they're all growing revenue without growing headcount.
and that's framed right now as a very sharp observation of, modern corporate efficiency.
Which it is. It's a spot-on description.
But I think the current material, it sort of pulls its punch a bit.
How so?
Well, this isn't just a footnote on efficiency. This is a potential tectonic shift. I guess the main point here is that the material's great at identifying the trend, but we need to strengthen the analysis
Right.
and explore the systemic implications that go way beyond just saying companies are being more efficient.
Precisely. The weakness, as I see it, is that it treats this whole phenomenon as an observation of a business strategy instead of what it really is, a central and potentially destabilizing economic argument.
Exactly. It's like you've identified this key mechanism of AI adoption in the US, but it needs to drive a deeper discussion about risk or societal cost or these huge policy gaps that are opening up.
So the suggestion then is to anchor jobless growth not just in what's happening now,
Right?
but in future policy, in ethical questions. Use it to frame the entire significance of the piece.
Yes. We need to shift the focus dramatically from what is happening, okay, companies making more money with fewer people, to why this matters profoundly to the entire structure of the US economy.
Okay, so let's make that actionable. What are some concrete ways to bring in that systemic depth?
Well, one approach. We could introduce a comparative element.
Okay,
Explicitly contrast the U.S. approach to AI growth with other historical periods of upheaval from automation. Say, the industrial shifts in the mid-20th century.
I like that, but I also worry a little. Does adding historical comparisons risk shifting the focus too far away from what's unique now, which is the incredible speed of AI?
That's a critical distinction. And you're right. The idea isn't to draw a perfect parallel. It's more to use history as a mirror.
I see.
So the concrete example is focusing on how different policy frameworks, or, the total lack of them today, is making the jobless growth problem so much worse.
So comparing the rate of job disappearance now, which is measured in months, to previous eras where it was measured in decades.
Exactly. That emphasis on acceleration, that right there elevates the argument to the level of crisis, which I think this material really deserves.
Okay, what's another approach?
The other way is to take this big systemic concern and connect it directly to the social impacts you discussed later.
Integrate it right into that section.
Yeah. Analyze the anxiety of a U.S. worker, which is so palpable right now, against the backdrop of an economy that on paper is doing great. GDP is high, profits are soaring,
But it's structurally failing.
structurally failing.
You mean linking the systemic failure to create, say, stable roles for middle-aged workers trying to reskill, or even entry-level jobs for new grads, linking that failure directly back to jobless growth?
Yes. That linkage creates this powerful analytical depth that goes so far beyond simple description. It shows the growth is happening, but the benefits are structurally concentrated.
Right, leaving millions of people just stranded.
Stranded. Which actually brings us perfectly to the next point, the human costs.
Yes, I agree. That concentration of benefits and the anxiety that comes with it is a crucial link. And it brings us to what I think is the most unique and compelling observation in the whole piece: silent layoffs.
That concept is gold, absolute gold. It's the human drama of this entire shift.
And right now, you've completely buried the lead.
100%. The core idea here is that the concept of silent layoffs is powerful, it's unique, but its impact is just diluted by where it sits in the document right now.
Yeah, the weakness is that you have this crucial section on it. Companies not announcing layoffs, they just stop hiring. They let people leave because the workload is unbearable with AI shouldering so much.
It's a brilliant observation of the current U.S. environment.
But it's treated as just one bullet point among many. It just drains all the emotional and rhetorical power out of it.
Right. And I wonder, is there a risk that by focusing so much on the sectoral stats, we're overlooking the intense human drama of this trend? This feels like the central, most engaging observation you have.
So the suggestion is to restructure the entire piece to leverage that dramatic tension.
Yes, use this psychological phenomenon as the central narrative device, the thread that connects the sectoral impacts, which are a bit dry, to the very real social and psychological toll.
That makes a lot of sense. It elevates it from a detailed report into more of a highly engaging narrative analysis. It's focused on the individual struggle.
So to do that, I think the most impactful concrete example is to use silent layoffs as your opening hook.
Start with it.
Start with it. Vividly describe the pressure on an individual worker in an office, in customer service, whatever, where one senior employee who's now armed with all these AI tools
Is doing the work of 3 or 4 people.
exactly. Describe that pressure, that expectation that leads directly to burnout and people just quitting. And then dive into your sectoral statistics.
That immediacy really works. It addresses the emotional reality that the jobless growth point only defines systemically. It makes the abstract feel tangible.
Absolutely. But we have to protect the integrity of the data. I mean, if we lead just with emotion, how do we stop the audience from discounting the hard stats later?
Good point. And that's where the second concrete example comes in.
Okay,
You integrate the concept deeply into the sectoral analyses themselves.
I see. So not just as a standalone chapter.
Right. When you're discussing the massive cuts in customer service, you explicitly tie the remaining human roles, handling complaints, complex situations, VIP clients, you tie that to the intensified pressure that directly causes people to leave, the silent layoff effect.
Ah, that provides incredible texture. It goes way beyond just saying X number of jobs were replaced.
It explains why the job market feels so intensely precarious, even when there isn't a flood of layoff announcements in the news.
And it ensures the emotional weight of silent layoffs is felt through the entire analysis, not just quarantined in one section.
Okay, so if jobless growth is the systemic storm,
And silent layoffs is the immediate trauma.
let's talk about the survival kit, the framework for future human roles.
Excellent transition. And, the document correctly identifies that AI is pushing humans toward these higher level roles: supervision, decision-making, strategic creation.
It does, but for a really knowledgeable reader, those terms are still too high level, too abstract.
They are.
They lack that concrete linkage to the millions of actual workers in the sectors you've identified, the data entry clerks, the junior devs, the content writers. So the weakness is that lack of concrete linkage. It needs to move from abstraction to a practical taxonomy.
And that's the heart of it. To make the conclusion truly useful, the core idea is that these abstract definitions for new human roles need way more specificity, especially in relation to the sectors you've already talked about.
So the suggestion is to build out a kind of a micro-taxonomy, a framework that links these high-level skills back to specific affected roles.
Right. This would provide highly actionable foresight for the reader who wants to strengthen the argument for training, for preparedness. You're essentially defining the new career track for them.
Exactly. You have to define what supervision actually looks like for a displaced admin assistant. It's totally different from what it looks like for a factory floor worker.
The current terms are just too general for the level of expertise this material is aiming for.
So let's start with those administrative and office jobs. Instead of just supervision, how do we make that tangible?
I think one concrete approach is to give them a specific new title.
Like what?
Something like, an AI output validation specialist or an automated workflow auditor.
Ah, I like that.
It gives a real tangible career path for displaced data entry or billing clerks who have all this domain knowledge. They don't lose their expertise in compliance.
They just shift their focus from doing the manual input to auditing the output of the automated system.
Precisely. And that's a massive upgrade in utility because it validates their existing expertise while defining the new technical skill they need. It just makes the argument for reskilling so much stronger.
Okay, let's do the same for the creative sectors, content and media. You mentioned strategic creation.
Right, and we need to distinguish between that, which is about unique angles, voice, originality, things AI still really struggles with, and a new role.
A new technical role.
Yeah, something like AI prompt engineering for scale.
So, if you are a basic marketing copywriter doing repetitive ad copy, your job now becomes optimizing the tool for that output. You become a prompt engineer. You don't necessarily lose your job entirely.
Exactly. It keeps them employed, but defines a new technical specialization that's required to stay in the game.
Okay, finally, let's look at junior developers, a highly affected role. You noted AI is absorbing a lot of repetitive coding, manual QA.
So their role is shifting dramatically. It's moving away from that manual work.
And towards something like AI-assisted code integrity and security auditing.
Yes. They leverage their foundational knowledge in a new way, a way that actually augments the senior developer.
It makes them much more valuable. It shifts them up the value chain from basic execution to this integrated oversight using AI analysis tools.
That level of specificity is what makes the whole analysis truly practical. And it directly addresses the fear of technological obsolescence that the material talks about in the social impact section.
This level of detail transforms the conclusion from, a hopeful abstraction into a vital career planning guide.
I agree.
This was tremendous work on material that is already exceptional. To summarize the 3 core actionable steps you can take to really maximize its impact. First, deepen the systemic significance of that jobless growth trend.
Right. Focus on the policy implications, the historical context. Move it from just an observation to an urgent policy argument.
Second, restructure the entire narrative around the psychological weight of silent layoffs.
Use that unique concept as our central, compelling hook that connects the data to the human anxiety throughout the whole document.
And finally, add that tangible specificity to your definitions of the new human roles. Create a practical taxonomy. Give specific concrete job titles like Automated Workflow Auditor or AI-Assisted Code Integrity Auditor.
Make your foresight maximally actionable for the millions of people affected.
Exactly.
You have the facts locked down. Now it's about giving those facts the narrative structure and the analytical weight they truly deserve. This is outstanding material. I would really challenge you to implement these changes and submit the improved work back in. We would love to see how you elevate this even further.